So we certainly don't want to return all of this when our user logs into our API. And I continuously use the term logging into our API, but what our user is actually going to be doing is signing into our API and then receiving a token back from the server, and it's this token that's going to confirm the user's identity, and it's going to be sent with every request to our API to authenticate on every request. But because it's a token, then this happens extremely quickly. So let's go back to VS Code, and inside the application project, inside our user, I'm just going to create another new class called user. And inside this class is the properties that we want to return when a user signs into the application. So I'm going to add a string for the display name, a string for the token, I'll add a string for the username, and I'll add a string for the image that we won't have for some time, but we'll also send back the user's image as part of their user object. And we want to return this instead of our app user, so let's go back to our login handler. And instead of the app user, we're going to return the user. And we'll need to do the same for each instance of the app user inside here when it comes to the return object. And as well as the handler there, we also need to return the task of user inside this. And what we need to do, instead of returning this, which is an app user, we're going to return a new user. And we'll set the display name to the user.displayName. The token will be not created yet, so I'm just going to say this will be a token eventually, or very shortly in fact. And then we'll specify the username equal to user.username, and then the image will equal null. Now the casing of the username, I'm using this as just a single word instead of this Pascal casing here for username. And it doesn't really make any difference, it's just that when we do make use of this in our client application, then we'll be using username all as lowercase instead of camel casing inside our React application. And it's not a big deal because we're using TypeScript, so we'll have strong typing on our user objects anyway, so it won't be an issue. And what we'll also need to do is update our user controller, and we'll need to specify that we're returning a user here instead of our app user. And if we go and take a look and make sure that this has had the desired effect, I'm just going to resend this request. And we get the 200 OK, and this is more like it. This is the kind of object that we want to return here to our client application. And we're not returning sensitive information like the user's email address or their password hash, etc. So now what we need to do is turn this will be a token into an actual token that we can return to our client. And we'll have a bit of setup for this because we're going to create a new project inside our solution for things that we don't want to run inside our application logic or inside our API or inside our persistence layer. And anything related to security will run inside of an infrastructure project, and we'll use an interface from our application to get to our infrastructure project. But we'll talk about that next, and then we'll go ahead and implement it.